Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Watch Out. I'm your host Drew Pizzulo, and as you can see from my outfit, it is March Madness 2024. And this year, our bracket is going to be about watches that are Swiss-made under $1,000. The best brand that you can have in this category. And let's just take a look at our field real quickly. Our 1 seeds consist of Rado and Hamilton. The 2 seeds consist of Mito and Epos. 3 seeds are Ball and Tissot. 4 are Certina and Zodiac. 5 are Lijour and Glycine. 6 seeds are Luminox and Movado. The 7 seeds Alpina and Liv. And the 8 seeds finally Invicta and Edox. Okay, so these are the brands that are going to be competing for the best brand under $1,000 that you can buy for a Swiss-made watch. Remember, Swiss-made means 60% or more of the parts in a watch are Swiss and inspected to that standard from Switzerland or made in Switzerland. So, with that being said, let's get right to the bracket and see how they stack up. First matchup we're going to go to is on the left side of the bracket, which is Rado versus Invicta. This one's not much of a contest because you're dealing with a pretty big brand in Rado that sells over 500,000 pieces per year. Okay, now you got to understand Rado's price point. It's going to be half and half here. Half of their higher end watches are over 1,000. Half are lower, but you still have plenty that have ceramic, that have steel, that have tungsten, all the different materials that they use that they are known for. And so when you compare the Rado watch, even their quartzes and their automatics, off to the Invictas, the only Invictas that maybe in this category are their Swiss quartzes and a couple of Swiss automatics. But remember, Invicta is one of those brands that throws a lot of stuff at the wall. They have so many models, so many brands. They use so many movements. So you're dealing with a small sub-segment of their production line that actually has a Swiss movement and can actually be Swiss made. And when you're dealing with a Swiss engine in a Chinese car, usually that doesn't end too well when it comes to warranty. Now remember what we always do every year. We are rating these things, these brands and watches on reputation, features and functions, affordability, looks, and resale from 1 to 10. And when you basically add them all up, then we see who wins. And in this category, there really is no contest to move on. The 1 seed Rado will move on past Invicta with no problem there, and a pretty easy call. So you have now the 4 and the 5 seed, Lijour and Certina. This one gets more interesting. Lijour is a rebrand because they were around in the 1960s, and this one was brought back. And their watches are actually pretty affordable. Their heritage line is in the 700 range, but they do have some of their lines over $1,000 as well, so you're only dealing with a certain sub-segment of Lijour that is under 1,000, whereas Certina, most of their line is under $1,000. They do have more automatics and quartz movements in their lines that are, in this range. So if you take these 2 brands, you're probably better off with a Certina than a Lijour because of the amount of options that you do have. So for that reason, because when it comes to reputations, they're similar, features and functions are similar. Looks, they both have nice looks. Resale value, probably Certina is a little bit better, and affordability, like I said, does go to Certina's favor because of the more options. So we are moving Certina into the next round against Rado. Okay, but before we get there, let's take a look at Ball and Luminox, the 3 against the 6 seed here in this side of the bracket. Now, we all know what Ball is known for. It's the railroad watch that is known for their tritium tubes. And a lot of their line, they do have Swiss automatics, and they have the quartz movements as well. But Ball does have plenty of watches under $1,000 in both movements. And when you put that up against Luminox, now Luminox, as we know, was the the watch for Navy SEALs. And back in the 90s and early 2000s, they have since lost that title. They have been rebranded quite a bit, and they do not quite have the luster they used to. Their features and functions and the reputation has taken a hit because of the quality issues that they have experienced over the years. They just aren't in trend anymore like they used to be, because they used to be a very clearly defined company. Even though they're more affordable than Ball, but the looks go to Ball's favor and the resale goes to Ball's favor because Luminoxes just don't hold the value that they once did. So being that Ball and Luminox going against each other here, you're better off with a brand that is going to hold up over the years a lot better and has better features to it. And in this case, Ball is moving on. So we're moving on the 3 seed into the next round. And the 2 and the 7 seed over here, Mito against Alpina. Mito, as we all know, is one of the big brands out there, and they pride themselves on being under $1,000 for most of their lines. Again, quartz, automatics, you have a lot of selection. Cool looks to them, pretty decent resale, affordability is very good, and they have plenty of features and functions. They have skeletons, they have chronographs, they have world timers, they got everything. But against Alpina, now this is a Swiss brand that was bought out by Citizen. Citizen leaves them alone. They still remain independent, kind of like the cruise industry where you have Princess Cruises that is owned by Carnival, but they leave them alone, just take the profits from Princess. So this is very similar here. Alpina has plenty of watches, both quartz and automatic, that are in this category under $1,000 as well. You also have a big smartwatch line that really comes into play for the newer youth movement and the newer generations that like the more digital look for different features. So while Alpina does win out on features and they do win out on affordability in that aspect for the features and functions section, for the reputation, Mito does have it over here. For the looks, it also is Mito, and the resale value, it's Mito as well. Because a lot of the smartwatches don't hold any resale value. Nobody really wants any smartwatch that anybody else has had before. So you put those together, Mito is coming out the winner over here. No big surprises and no major upsets on this side of the bracket. Let's go to the right side of the bracket for 1 minute. And Hamilton against Edox. Now this is a much closer matchup than people may think. Edox is actually a pretty good brand. Lots of automatics, lots of Swiss quartz movements as well, usually in the $300 to $600 range. Whereas Hamilton, they have a big history. Their reputation is their edge over there. Looks-wise, they usually have some pretty good lookers, especially with the Jazz collection that they do, the Jazz Master. But they're really known for the khaki brand that really has brought them into the next level in the recent years. And if you're taking these two brands, basically what's going to determine this and who's going to win this is going to be based on reputation, which is going to hold a big key here, and that's going to be Hamilton. Everybody's heard of Hamilton before in the watch industry. Not many people have heard of Edox, even though they try to be as relevant as they possibly can. Hamilton's got the win here as we move them on to the next round. Okay, so now we got against the 4 and the 5 seed, which is Zodiac and Glycine. Now listen, this is a close matchup again because Zodiac does have the Seawolf, which is the diver's watch that everybody seems to love. And it is, even though it's listed over $1,000, you can get it under $1,000 on eBay, on different sale events, on a lot of these watch sites. So that does play in here in this bracket against Glycine, which again is a Invicta brand like Alpina was to Citizen. This one belongs to Invicta, which did buy them out, but they do give you a nice quality. Their movements are pretty good. They use a lot of Ronda movements, sometimes you'll even get every once in a while an Etta or a Salida in their watches, but they're known for their airman style watches, and they're anywhere between $300 and $500 for the most part. You get a pretty good watch, entry level, that does last quite a while. When you put it up against Zodiac, these are two of the smaller brands, so reputation really doesn't play a feature here. Zodiac features and functions really don't play a feature here. Affordability goes to Glycine, looks-wise goes to Zodiac, resale value does go to Zodiac, so Zodiac is moving on by a very narrow margin, like a 35 to 34 margin. If I had to give it a score on this, which we're not doing exact scores this year, but I'm just giving you an overview, which means we go to the next bracket, which is Tissot against Movado. Now this is very interesting because you got the entry-level Tissot, which everybody knows. They are sponsored with the NBA. They do a lot of different things with sports, a lot of different celebrities, so they have the reputation. However, Movado, everybody knows Movado. They're actually made in Paramus, they're not made in Switzerland. They have a lot of Swiss-made watches because they're Swiss-made watches. They use a lot of different movements in their watches, and again, they can get around it. But then again, you're dealing with a subsegment of a subsegment for a very large brand that uses automatic, and it does use quartz. And now you're trying to take out their versions that are under $1,000, and they range from all over the place. Movados can go anywhere from a couple $100 to $2,000 based on what you really want to put in the watch. Looks-wise, Movado has it over Tissot. Resale, they're about even. Affordability, Tissot has it over Movado. And features and functions, this will also go in this range. They're about even as well. So you're going based on reputation, and in the Swiss world, for this type of watch, Tissot is going to eke out what Movado has available in this section. I'm not saying brands overall. I'm saying what's available under $1,000. I'm going to keep hammering home that point because that is the whole point of this episode. So Tissot is going to move on to the next level. No upsets here. Okay, as you can see so far, Epos and Liv. Now, many of you may have not heard of Epos. I am actually wearing an Epos today, so I can actually give you a little overview of it. So here is an Epos. This is the North Star edition, as you can see right here. This is a North Star with a triple date and a moon phase. There is no moon tonight, so they actually blacked it out. This is the new model, really cool to look at night as well. We're not getting into that right now. I'm just giving you an example of one of the Epos. This model is not under $1,000. This is well over $1,000, so this will not be featured tonight. But when you put this brand, which is a Switzerland brand, it's a macro brand. It's bigger than most micro brands, but they got a lot of features and a lot of watches under $1,000. And you put it up against Liv, which is a little trust fund baby. It's one of those crowdfunding success stories that have come together, and they actually become Swiss made because they decided to go the Swiss route. Great for them. Good startup brand. They seem to have a pretty good reputation. When you put it against Epos, they will lose that because they have no history, which Epos does have. They've been a company since the 1980s, so they have a 40-year head start. When it comes to features and functions, Epos has that as well. Affordability is probably going to go to Liv. Epos does have watches, but they're probably a little bit more expensive than Liv. Looks-wise, it is Epos, and resale value, they're about even. So Epos is moving on here. No big contest. So we really see no upsets in this first bracket, okay, this first round. So now you're down to your Elite 8, and the Elite 8 goes on. So let's bring it down between Rado and Certina. Rado against Certina. Now you're going to have, when you put these against each other, Certina is going to win the battle of affordability, and it will probably win the battle of some functions because most of their line is under $1,000, but Rado is going to win on reputation, looks, and resale. When you add them all up, Rado is moving on. Sorry, Certina. Rado is just a better, higher brand, better watch, better movements, and more materials. They're moving on. When you put Ball against Mito here, the 3 seed against the 2 seed, this is a tough little combination here because you're dealing with tritium tubes, you're dealing with a railroad watch, like I said before, against Mito and most of their line, which is under $1,000. In the end, when you take these two brands, you're going to find that Mito has a lot more options than Ball in this category under $1,000, both in with automatics. Okay, Mito does not deal a lot in quartz. Ball deals a little bit, so they're about even there. But Mito is a more affordable brand. They both have nice looks. They both have a decent resale. So when you put them against each other, Mito's going to win here because they have more options. So Mito moves on against Ball. Let's swing around to the right side of the bracket. You have Hamilton against Zodiac. Again, smaller brand against larger brand. Hamilton has more options than Zodiac does because Zodiac, even though they have the Seawolf, you got to look for deals on that aspect. But most of their line does not fall under $1,000, and there's not a big watch company to begin with against Hamilton, they have the quartz, they have the automatic, and they have a lot of different features. Looks are good. They're about equal. In terms of resale, that's probably going to go to Hamilton. Features and functions, probably going to go to Hamilton as well. So when you put the 5 seed against the 1 seed, Hamilton's going to take this one and move on to the semis as the 1 seed continues to move on. Now we're going to look at the final one, and that's Tissot against Epos. Now you're dealing entry level, big brand against smaller brand, and this is where Tissot is going to win against affordability. And they will basically win on reputation because they've been around longer. They've been around since like the 1800s. They're well known in the industry. However, they are going to lose in the features and functions, looks, and resale categories in this aspect, as Epos, if you really look at this brand, really does have a lot. They have skeletons, they have chronographs, they have jump hours, they have world timers. They got a lot of stuff under $1,000 that really does separate them, and their quality is better than Tissot, which doesn't use the movements. You're talking about movements in Epos. They're using ETAs, and they're using Salida movements. They use a lot of ETA 28-24 movements in their watches. That's their main engine that they go with. When you put that up against Tissot, the engine's not as good. It doesn't last as long. Tissot's got some decent movements that they throw in their watches, but it's just not as good, and it doesn't last the length and durability that Epos does. So Epos is actually moving on here against Tissot, and by a couple of percentage points. So it's actually, now here's your final 4 that we currently have. Let's go to the left side, Rado against Mito. Close call here, but here's what separates this factor, okay? Again, better brand, higher level, Rado. More in this category, more options, more functions, more features, more to choose from, Mito. So there's not too much more to be said against this, because now you're dealing with Rado and half their squad against Mito and 75 to 80% of what they have to offer. Both great watch brands. Both have a lot of different features. Rado, again, has their advantage with ceramics, and especially with their quartz movements. However, Mito does have the advantage in having more of their automatics fall in this category, and it does have the advantage of having most of their line in general, because they tend to be towards more of the under 1,000 category, whereas Rado, you're breaking half and half, and most of their cooler stuff, which they're known for, the True series and the Centrics and what they love to do, is well over $1,000. So unfortunately, the 1 seed is going to fall to the 2 seed here, and Mito is going to move on to the final. Okay, and who are they going to face? I will tell you right now, because now you got Epos against Hamilton, and again, small against big brand. But now you're dealing with a larger amount of Hamilton's watches against most of Epos's line. This now comes around to personal preference. Looks-wise, I give this to Epos. Resale, I give this to Hamilton. Affordability is about even. Features and functions, I give to Epos, and reputation, you're going to go to Hamilton. So you're really like going into overtime with these two brands right now, because they're really battling. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to which one do you like on your wrist better, which one do I think would last longer, which one is just a cooler watch. I give this to Epos. I don't give it to Hamilton. So it's now Mito against Epos in the finals. Okay, so you have a pretty large brand against a macro brand here in the finals for under $1,000. And again, this is a really, really close call. We've pretty much said everything I could possibly say between these two brands. Again, go look at them to give us your actual estimation of what's the better one. I have both brands. To tell you the truth, when your main engine is a 2824 in all of your automatic movements, based against Mito's engine, which is not as good in most of their automatic movements. Even though Mito has more of a variety than Epos in this category, even though they both have a lot, the cooler aspect and the engine at the end of the day is what I love to do and go with for my reliability. And the better engine in this case, I would tell you, is in Epos, and Epos is going to win this bracket and this year's March Madness episode. So congratulations to Epos. What a great way to really find its own, I would say, its own identity in this aspect. They've won me over with their watches through the years, but again, no slouch in Mito over here. I just like to take the best engine I could possibly get for the money in this category. So thank you everybody for joining us for March Madness of 2024. I look forward to joining you in the next episode. Please like, subscribe. I know our last episode went viral with the prices of watch movements out there. Congratulations to everybody that watched that. And I hope you like this episode as well. Check out our previous years of March Madness episodes to see who the winners were in different categories also. So I will be back next month. Thank you everybody, and I will see you on the next episode of Watch Out.